Hey, I'm going to be reading a chapter from the book 6 Ways, Approaches and Entries for Practical Magic by Aidan Wachter. I'm not sure if the camera reverses the images or not, but it's there. Um, this book is a book of sorceress practices, basic magical practices that you can do. These are not spells. So it's different. These are lead-ins into trance and different elements of using the body to transform and transmute trauma, specifically for many of us, or how to shift your perspective as well as change the dynamic that trauma plays out in your bodies, and therefore changing the way we react and act in the world around us. This is a particularly easy practice, this chapter, for most anyone to do, and it's pretty resounding, I felt. So I wanted to share this one for this project. Chapter 7, Reclaiming Self, Power, and Position. This is my suggested foundational practice for new practitioners. It aims to first cut some ties and attachments that are not helpful, mainly those relating to guilt or shame. Guilt and shame are arguably useful in a social sense, but problematic in a magical one. Secondly, it begins to draw or call back in any stray bits of personal power that have been lost, stolen, or discarded. Lastly, it is a self-blessing and a consecration, a claiming of space as a sovereign being. I know many who have made it a lasting part of their daily practices. A few words about loss of power may be in order here. Although it is not an accurate description, it can be helpful to think for a moment that we each have a finite amount of personal power. This power is what allows us to be who we truly are to the best of our abilities. We are at our best when this power is all with us, all together, a single unit. When we give our attention to outside forces, unless we draw it back to us, it can, after a fashion, stay where we have placed it, perhaps in a past relationship or a city in which we used to live. This diminishes what power is available to us for use. It also leaves us almost literally scattered. Perhaps you have had the experience where work or school interferes with your home life or relationships. Even when there is nothing really demanding your attention at the moment. In a sense, we have left some of our power at work or at school, and in our inability to focus on what is real and important right now is in part due to this. Another common way we lose our power is through trauma. When we are mistreated or outright abused by someone, they have almost literally claimed some of our power as theirs. This can persist indefinitely unless we reclaim it. To do so will not likely fix everything. We might still need therapy or another kind of healing, for example, but by reclaiming our power, we can return to our natural whole state. This allows us to bring all of our innate power to bear on the magic we do. This is necessary for us to do our best work. Here is the rite. Once or twice a day for a full lunar month is a good schedule in the beginning. Get a printed photo of yourself. Set it on your altar. Any flat surface will do as an altar, along with a bowl of fresh water, a candle, and some incense. I like to add crushed dried rose petals to the water, but a drop of an essential oil or a spray of a favorite perfume works as well, and plain water is of course fine. Light the candle, light the incense. Take a few moments to claim and calm your center and relax. Take a few breaths and then begin. 1. Forgive yourself your failures out loud. Say, I forgive myself my failures, each and every one of them, past, present, and future. Repeat this section 3 times every time you do this ritual. 2. After you have done that and felt whatever you felt from it, call back all of your power that has strayed from you in any way. You could say out loud, I call back all of my power, all that was taken from me, all that I gave away, and all that I lost. I call it back to me, as it was, as it is, and as it shall be. Repeat this section 3 times every time you do this work. 3. Bless yourself and give thanks. Say aloud, here and now, ever and always, as an avatar of the ineffable, I bless myself. I give thanks to the powers that aid and guard me. I thank them for their help, their protection, and their infinite blessings. As was, as is to come. Repeat this section 3 times every time you do this work. Throughout the work, as inspired, consecrate or bless yourself with the water. This may be a few drops or a full body thing. Give special attention to the whole head, particularly brow, crown, back, and nape of the neck, throat, hands, feet, as well as anywhere you find yourself holding pain. Feel free to rewrite what words you say, but don't deviate from the intention, and include some form of the past, present, future, and as it was, as it is, and as it shall be. Just to go through the footnotes of the chapter, the first one's a bit long. Talking about attachments. In the first paragraph, the author, Aidan, has said, this is my suggested foundational practice for a new practitioner. It aims to first cut some ties and attachments that are not helpful. So Aidan wanted to clarify a bit of his intention about attachments. To attach is to fasten, fix, and join to, and so attachments refer to things we are fixed, tied, or bound to, be they objects, people, ideas, or states of being. Most of our attachments are not consciously chosen, or if they were at one time, they may have moved on to an unconscious state where we now perceive them as always has been, always will be type of things. There's nothing inherently wrong with attachment, but from the sorceress view, it is in our interest to only stay attached to those things that serve us well. One of the major perks of magical practice is that we can become more able to see where we have attachments that work against us and our best interest, while providing a variety of options to sever, break, or release them. 2. When he talks about consecration, and it's near the beginning as well. I don't see the actual. Here we go. Talking about what this practice is, it says, lastly, it's a blessing, a self-blessing, and a consecration, a claiming of space as a sovereign being. So to clarify consecration, to consecrate means to make or declare something holy. Holy is derived from words meaning sacred, consecrated, venerated, whole, healthy, and in magical terms, I tend to think of it as to make special or to dedicate something or someone to a purpose or deity. The third footnote is on talking about in the fourth or fifth paragraph, it says more on this common center business in the meditation and trance chapters. For now, just breathing deeply for a few minutes is fine. So when he's talking about to center yourself before you begin this working, he's just talking about that later on in the book. You can read his concepts on centering. 4 is Aidan wants to recognize Danielle Laporte for the language of calling back your power. The 5th and final footnote is ineffable, means that which is beyond expressing in words, when he says, I am the avatar of the ineffable. Now, one thing I wanted to note myself is that again, he says in the last chapter, the last paragraph of this chapter, that you can feel free to change the wording as you feel necessary, but keep the intention solid. And I do just that with this practice. I know a few other people who do have a different set of wording depending on what their language, their cultural language, their subcultural language, their preferred understanding or framing of the narrative may be. So yeah, it's powerful to do that. It's empowering to do that and be able to do that. And I guess I wanted to say that, yeah, this is a really basic and quick practice. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out ritual, but it definitely can be. I've done this practice in just a matter of moments, a few minutes maybe before work in the morning, and I've done this practice, with candles and a bath and chanting for, a long time. So, yeah, thank you to Aidan Wachter for the book 6 Ways. Thank you to Orion for putting together this project. And thank you to you for caring about your mental health and taking responsibility for yourself. That's how we become accountable to one another, when we can stand in our own skin, which is really hard at some point for some of us. So thanks, y'all.